What if emotional detachment isn't about losing connection, but about reclaiming your peace and protecting your soul? What if letting go doesn't mean failure? It means making room for the life you were always meant to live. Imagine finding strength not in clinging tighter, but in releasing what no longer serves your highest good. Welcome to a journey of emotional clarity, personal empowerment, and inner freedom. Detachment isn't about coldness. It's about stepping into the life your heart has been yearning for all along. How to emotionally detach. Free yourself from what drains you by Billy Graham. There comes a point in life when you have to ask yourself, is this attachment serving me? Or am I serving it? Because the truth is not every emotional connection we hold on to is meant to stay. Some weigh us down, some keep us stuck, and some take more from us than we even realize. It's not about cutting people off or becoming cold-hearted. It's about learning when holding on is doing more harm than good emotional. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring in a way that protects your peace. It's about recognizing when your emotions are running the show, keeping you tied to a situation that no longer serves your growth. Too often, we mistake attachment for love, for commitment, for responsibility. But real love, healthy love, doesn't require you to lose yourself in the process. How many times have you stayed in a situation simply because it was because you thought letting go meant failing? Convince ourselves that if we just try harder, hold on tighter, things will change, but the more we cling to something that's meant to be released, the more it drains us. Emotional attachment can become a cycle, one where we confuse our identity with the things or people we're holding on to. Maybe it's a relationship where you keep giving and giving, but you're left empty. Maybe it's a friendship that feels more like an obligation than a joy. Maybe it's a situation from your past that you just can't seem to shake. And every time you think about walking away, fear whispers, what if you regret it? What if you never find something better? So you stay. You invest more energy, more time, more of yourself, only to feel the same exhaustion, the same frustration, the same weight pressing on you. But here's the thing, your emotions are powerful, but they are not always right. They can convince you that staying is safer than walking away. They can make you believe that without this attachment, you'll be lost. But real strength isn't in holding on. It's in knowing when to let go. It's in recognizing that your peace, your joy, your well-being, those things matter more than keeping something intact, just for the sake of it. Detachment isn't about shutting yourself off from the world. It's about stepping back enough to see clearly when you're too close. Emotions cloud your judgment. They make you react instead of respond. They keep you tangled in cycles of frustration, resentment, and self-doubt. But when you take a step back, you start to see things for what they really are, not what you wish they were. And that's where freedom begins. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the heaviest, when you felt trapped in something that no longer served you. That weight you carried wasn't just from the situation itself. It was from the fear of letting go. It was from the belief that if you walked away, you'd lose a part of yourself. But ask yourself this, if holding on is making you miserable, what exactly are you afraid of losing? We're conditioned to believe that letting go means giving up, that it means we didn't try hard enough. But in reality, letting go is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. It means you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to break free from cycles that don't serve you. You're choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and freedom over fear. Emotional detachment isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling in a way that doesn't consume you. It's about understanding that you can care for someone deeply without losing yourself in them. You can be committed to something without sacrificing your own well-being. You can love, you can give, you can invest, but not at the cost of your own peace. And when you finally reach that place where you can step back and see things clearly, you realize something. Peace was never in the attachment. It was always in the release. There's a moment in life when you have to stop and ask yourself, am I seeing this for what it really is? Or am I seeing it for what I want it to be? Because the way you look at something changes everything. Your perspective isn't just how you see the world, it's how you experience it. And when you're too emotionally attached to something, your perspective narrows. You don't see things as they are. You see them through the lens of your feelings, your fears, your hopes. But the moment you shift your perspective, you take back your power. We've all been there, clinging to something that no longer serves us. Not because it's right, but because it's familiar. We convince ourselves that if we just hold on a little longer, things will change that. If we try a little harder, things will go back to how they used to be. But that's the problem. When you're emotionally attached, you focus so much on what was or what could be that you completely lose sight of what is. You see potential instead of reality, and sometimes that blinds you. What if, instead of holding on out of fear, you step back and ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What is this revealing about me? Because every situation you cling to has something to show you about your patterns, your beliefs, your growth. And when you shift from why is this happening to me to what can I learn from this, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone who can choose how to respond. And that's where real freedom begins. See, emotional attachment often makes us believe that our happiness is tied to something or someone outside of us. That if we lose this relationship, this job, this situation, we'll lose a part of ourselves. But that's a lie. Happiness was never in the attachment. It was in you. All of you just forgot. And the moment you realize that the fear of letting go starts to lose its grip, maybe you've been holding on to a relationship that drains you because you're afraid of being alone. Maybe you've been holding on to a version of yourself that no longer fits because you're afraid of stepping into the unknown. Maybe you've been replaying the past thinking, if you had just done one thing differently, you wouldn't be in this place right now. But the truth is, the past is done. No amount of analyzing, replaying, or regretting will change it. And the future that's not written yet, but what you do have control over, is right now. Right now, you have the power to choose a new perspective. Right now, you can decide to stop looking at your situation as something happening to you and start seeing it as something happening for you. Right now, you can choose to see detachment, not as a loss, but as an opportunity to grow, to redefine yourself, to step into something better. When you shift your perspective, you start seeing things more clearly. You realize that some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, that some situations were only meant to teach you, not trap you, that some endings aren't punishments, they're redirections. And the moment you embrace that, you stop fighting against reality and start flowing with it. And that's when peace finds you there. Comes a time when you have to ask yourself, where do I end and where does everything else begin? Because if you don't define that line, life will define it for you. People will push, circumstances will pull. And before you know it, you're stretched, so thin that you can't even recognize yourself. And that's why boundaries matter. Not just physical ones, emotional ones. Because without them, you'll keep giving parts of yourself away until there's nothing left. We're taught that love means sacrifice, that caring means always being available, that being a good friend, a good partner, a good person means never saying no. But that's not love. That's self-neglect. And the hard truth is, if you don't set limits, if you don't protect your energy, you will always find yourself exhausted, frustrated, and resentful. Not because people are taking too much, but because you never made it clear where they had to stop. The biggest mistake people make is believing that boundaries push others away. But real boundaries don't build walls. They create space for healthy relationship. They tell the world, this is who I am, this is what I will allow, this is what I won't. And when you establish them, you're not being unkind, you're being honest. You're saying, I will love you, but I will not lose myself in you. I will help you, but I will not carry what isn't mine. I will show up, but I will not let you drain me. Sichten, the truth is, people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will be the ones most upset when you start setting them. And that's okay, because the ones who truly respect and care for you won't be threatened by your limits. They'll honor them. They'll understand that any relationship shouldn't require you to sacrifice your peace, your well-being, or your sense of self. Maybe you found yourself saying yes when you wanted to say no, staying silent when you needed to speak up, giving more than you received just to keep the peace. But that's not peace. That's avoidance. And every time you ignore your own needs, every time you let someone cross a line, should have never been crossed, you chip away at yourself, and eventually, you're left wondering why you feel so drained, so unseen, so disconnected from who you used to be. But here's the thing, boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about keeping yourself in. They're about making sure that in every situation, in every relationship, you still belong to yourself. And the moment you start enforcing them, something incredible happens. You stop feeling like a victim of other people's expectations. You stop feeling controlled by guilt or obligation. You stop resenting the very things you said yes to. It won't be easy at first. Saying no when you've always said yes will feel uncomfortable. Speaking up when you've always stayed quiet will feel unnatural. People might push back. Some might not understand. But the ones who matter will adjust, and the ones who don't. Maybe they were only in your life because you never had boundaries to begin with. So ask yourself, where do I need to draw the line? What am I allowing that is costing me my peace? What am I tolerating that is making me lose myself? Because the moment you answer those questions, the moment you decide that your well-being is non-negotiable, everything changes. You don't just set boundaries, you step into a new level of freedom, of confidence, of self-respect. And that is a shift worth making. Most people go through life reacting, something happens, and before they even realize it, emotions take over. Anger flares up, disappointment settles, in fear creeps through, and in that moment, they're not in control. Their emotions are, they let the situation dictate their mood, their choices, their peace. But here's the thing, if you don't learn to separate yourself from what you feel, You will always be at the mercy of everything that happens to you. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting those feelings control you. It means that instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, you step back, you observe what's happening inside you before you decide what to do with it most. People don't realize how much power they have over their emotions because they've never stopped to watch them. But the moment you become aware, everything changes. You start to notice the triggers, the patterns, the way certain situations make you respond. And when you notice them, you gain control over them. Think about the last time something upset you. Maybe someone said something that got under your skin. Maybe a situation didn't go the way you wanted in that moment. The emotion that hit, you felt real, it felt justified, but did it help? Did getting upset change anything? Or did it just steal your peace? Because that's what unchecked emotions do. They take from you, they drain your energy, they cloud your thinking. And if you're not careful, they make decisions for you that you later regret. But when you practice awareness, you take a step back before the emotion takes over. You pause before you react. And in that pause, you find power. You realize that you don't have to get worked up. Just because something didn't go your way, you don't have to engage in every argument. Just because someone wants to pull you into one, you don't have to let a temporary feeling create a permanent problem. Because the truth is, most of what upsets you today won't even matter a year from now. Mindfulness isn't just about sitting in silence and meditating. It's about paying attention to how you move through life. It's about catching yourself before the frustration turns into an outburst, before the sadness turns into self-pity, before the fear convinces you not to take the next step. It's about recognizing that emotions are like waves. They come, they rise, they crash, and then they pass. And if you learn to let them pass without getting caught in them, you gain a level of freedom that most people never experience. This kind of awareness takes practice. At first, it's uncomfortable. It feels unnatural to sit with a feeling without immediately reacting to it. It's easier to lash out, to blame, to distract yourself. But if you want real peace, real emotional strength, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to be willing to face what you feel without letting it consume you. You have to learn to observe an emotion instead of becoming it. Maybe you've spent years reacting the same way to the same triggers. Maybe you've told yourself, "This is just who I am, I can't help it." But that's not true. You can change, you can choose a different response. And the more you do, the more you realize that your emotions are just visitors. They are not your identity. They do not control you. You are bigger than what you feel in a single moment. And when you understand that, when you live by that, you no longer move through life at the mercy of what happens to you. You move with clarity, with purpose, with power. And that is what real freedom looks like. There comes a time when you have to ask yourself, who am I outside of everything I've attached myself to? Because if you don't know the answer to that, you'll always be looking for something or someone to complete you. You'll be chasing validation, approval, a sense of purpose in places that were never meant to give it to you. And that's why self-care and personal growth aren't luxuries. They're what keep you from losing yourself in the noise of everything around you. Most people spend their lives pouring into others, into relationships, into responsibilities, into the expectations placed on them. And little by little, they forget themselves. They put their own needs on the back burner, telling themselves that they'll focus on themselves later. But later never comes, because the more you neglect yourself, the easier it becomes to keep neglecting yourself. You convince yourself that being exhausted is normal, that feeling unfulfilled is just part of life, that sacrificing your happiness is what you're supposed to do. But that's a lie. You were never meant to just survive. You were meant to live, and living starts when you decide that your well-being matters. Self-care isn't just about taking breaks or treating yourself once in a while. It's about building a life that you don't need to escape from. It's about doing the inner work, healing, growing, discovering what actually brings you joy. It's about creating space for yourself in your own life, not just for a moment, but as a foundation, because when you don't take care of yourself, everything else suffers. Your relationships suffer, your peace suffers, your sense of direction suffers, and before you know it, you're looking around, wondering why you feel so lost, so disconnected, so drained. The world will always demand more from you. There will always be someone who needs something that feels urgent, something that pulls at your time and energy. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life reacting to everything around you, instead of building something within you. But the moment you decide to pour into yourself, the way you've poured into others, everything changes. You start to realize that self-care isn't selfish survival, that prioritizing your growth doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you're making sure you actually have something to give. Maybe you've been waiting for permission to put yourself first. Maybe you've been telling yourself that once things settle down, once you have more time, once people understand, then you'll focus on yourself. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. Life won't slow down and hand you an opportunity to take care of yourself. You have to create it. You have to decide that you are worth the time, the effort, the investment. You have to choose yourself before waiting for someone else to do it for you. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop looking for validation in places that can't give it to you. You stop depending on relationships, achievements, or external success to make you feel whole. You realize that everything you were searching for outside of yourself was already within you. And that's when you finally step into the kind of peace, the kind of strength, the kind of freedom that no one can take away. At some point, you have to ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that is holding me back? Because the truth is, you cannot move forward while you are still chained to the past. You cannot step into something new while your heart and mind are stuck in what used to be. Letting go is not just an action, it's a decision to stop carrying the weight of things. You cannot change a decision to stop replaying the past as if you can rewrite it. The decision to free yourself from the grip of things that no longer serve you. Most people struggle with letting go because they believe that doing so means losing something. But in reality, letting go is about gaining peace, gaining clarity, gaining the ability to focus on what's in front of you instead of what's behind you. You cannot heal in a place that keeps reopening your wounds. You cannot grow in an environment that keeps you small. You cannot build a future while still clinging to a past that no longer exists. And yet so many people hold on because they are afraid of the unknown, afraid of change, afraid that if they let go, they will have nothing left. But the truth is, when you let go, you don't lose. You make room for something better, room for something that aligns with who you are now, not who you used to be. Painful experiences shape us, but they do not have to define us. You do not have to carry every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment of heartbreak like a badge of honor. You do not have to let the past dictate how you see yourself, how you see others, or how you see the future. Just because something hurt you Once doesn't mean it has to keep hurting you. Just because something didn't work out doesn't mean nothing ever will. But the longer you hold on to what was, the longer you block yourself from what could be forgiveness, is a part of letting go. And not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. Too many people walk around punishing themselves for mistakes they made, for choices they wish they could undo, for not knowing then what they know now, but holding on to. Regret doesn't change the past. It only robs you of the present. You cannot build a new life while carrying the burden of shame. You cannot find joy while constantly reminding yourself of past failures. At some point, you have to release it. At some point, you have to stop reliving it and start rewriting it. At some point, you have to decide that you deserve to move on. Letting go is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is not ignoring reality. It is a conscious decision to choose yourself, to choose peace, to choose growth. It is looking at a situation and saying, I will not allow this to control me any longer. I will not give this more of my time, my energy, my emotions. It is recognizing that your life is too valuable, your future too important, your purpose too great to be weighed down by things that were never meant to stay. Maybe you've been holding on to something for too long. Maybe you've convinced yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, things will change, people will change, circumstances will change. But what if the change you're waiting for isn't coming? What if the change needs to happen within you? What if the real transformation begins when you finally let go? And when you do, you will realize something powerful. You never needed to hold on. In the first place, you were always strong enough to move forward. You were always capable of rebuilding. You were always meant for more. And that realization, that's when real freedom begins. Choosing emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring enough about yourself to break free from cycles that drain your spirit. It means shifting from surviving to thriving, from reacting to responding, from being chained to the past to stepping boldly into your future. When you detach with love and wisdom, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. And the life waiting on the other side of detachment is bigger, freer, and more beautiful than you ever imagined.